Okay, shalom, shalom. 1 second, let me make sure this is okay. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson. Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, and as you see, the title goes, we are witnessing the sunset, dark times ahead. Okay, we're witnessing the sunset, and I thought about that in the sense that when you look at the sun setting, all right, it always happens right before the evening. Okay, and that's when you have darkness, and the darkness is supposed to represent bitter times. Okay, dark times ahead, as the scriptures have said, the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, as a matter of fact, those times are what we're living in, but we're actually seeing these things happen that we've been talking about for all this while. Okay, so the sunset, we're pretty much at the end of the sunset, and we're entering into where it starts getting dark. Okay, so here we have this article which we're going to go into real quick. All right, it says Trump unveils sweeping tariffs, claiming the American dream is back. Okay, so we're seeing since he came into presidency, right, a lot of things have changed. You've seen a great push, all right, towards this digitalization of all things. As Klaus Schwab has said before, that AI is something that will penetrate the system and basically just take over, right? That's what he said. So their efforts right now is to push for that digital overtake. Okay, hence you have Doge. All right, you have Project Stargate. Okay, just to name a few. And then within those, you have these big time moguls, all right, tech moguls who are shifting for power. All right, and in terms of who's going to be prompted to work with Trump to bring about this MOTB system here in America, Babylon the Great, and around the world. Okay, so we're seeing those times come into play now. They have to get the American people to a degree where you're gonna have no choice but to take that C hip. Okay, you had this one Jake that did a video, so-called scoffing, and he was saying that, oh, there ain't gonna be no MOTB. The mark of the beast was put in there, by somebody, so it's not gonna happen. Well, because if it was to happen, then everybody's gonna know about it. Nobody's gonna do it. But that's the point. It's called the hour of temptation for a reason. The Lord is gonna make it very obvious what it is. All right, and then you have to have that will. All right, the will to survive without, you know, the comfortable ways that you're used to. Okay, being shut out of society. All right, on every level you can imagine. This is the beast system we're talking about. This is this digital AI God that they're creating. And that's all going to help with the fulfillment of the MOTB prophecy. So it's going to be people versus machines. You're not going to be, oh, I had the choice, I'm not going to do it. No, you're going to be pushed to the limit. And only the elect will pass this temptation, this test that's coming. Okay? And the test begins with things like this. Right? It says Trump unveils sweeping tariffs claiming the American dream is back. Okay? Liberation Day. All right? Liberation Day. It says President Donald Trump has unveiled a sweeping new policy of global reciprocal tariffs during a high-profile event at the White House, framing it as a cornerstone in the revival of the American dream. Okay, the revival of the American dream. So we have to be cognizant of the words they're using, right? Because remember, the scripture says that there is no new thing under the sun. All right, what has been is that what shall be done, or what shall be. All right, let's see if we can get that real quick. Let me see. Let me open up a new tab. Actually, hold on. Let me do this. Never mind. Do it the old school way. All right. Ecclesiastes. Okay, there's a book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, "The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done," right? And there's no new thing under the sun, right? So history repeats itself. Okay, so this guy's talking about the American dream, right? And then we have a prophecy lined up, ready to go to fire down this warp dream that he got going on, right? It says the American dream is a phrase referring to a purported national ethos of the United States. Let's see what that word ethos means, right? Ethos is a Greek word meaning character. The word character, when you actually go into that word, the Greek word for character is charagma. Okay? It says that is used to describe the guiding beliefs or ideals that characterize a community, nation, or ideology. You see? So that's the what? The MOTB mentality. We always talk about the mentality. These ideologies, these theories that they have is all to prepare people for the MOTB. When they start pushing things like transhumanism and dataism, right? This weird, stupid shit that, they're able to push upon the people to make them believe these weird things, to accept it, right? That's all part of the ideologies that we talk about. Okay? Transhumanism. What's that? Biometrics, right? Biometrics. You know, it says, and the balance between caution and passion. The Greeks also used this word to refer to the power of music to influence emotions, behaviors, and so on and so forth, right? So, ethos, right, of the United States. So the character of the United States, that the nation, the culture, which is really not a culture of the United States. All right, the madness, the sinfulness, the image, the spirit that they have that comes from the Roman Empire. That's the United States, right? That every person has the freedom and opportunity to succeed and attain a better life. The phrase was popularized by James Truslow Adams during the Great Depression. Okay, during the Great Depression, he was bringing this stuff about. He popularized it during the Great Depression in 1931. Okay, and so similar American Dream, same thing this guy is talking about. American Dream, Donald Trump. So could this mean we're about to enter into another recession, or the recession we've been talking about? That Great Depression, this is going to be the greatest depression. All right, because this marks the end. America doesn't revive this one. It says in 1931, and has had different meanings over time. Originally, the emphasis was on democracy, liberty, and equality, but more recently, right, has been on achieving material wealth and upward social mobility. And this is where the corruption comes in. Okay? Once you started with democracy, liberty, and equality, that's so-called good principles, right? And then now you're talking about material wealth and upward social mobility. That's why you have all these con-ass people. That's the degeneracy. The degeneracy and the immorality of this place, it escalated during those times. Right? Let's get this real quick. Is the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And that's talking about America. Okay, and I have this video here I'm gonna play after this. And everything he's saying is literally America. Okay, and it fits what biblical prophecy says that's going to be happening to America in the last days. Okay, all the things that we read about, the judgment, the judgment, the judgment that the Lord says, and He uses all these different names: Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, Assyria, Nineveh, all these different names that are given, right? They all face the same judgment in the last days. And it's always talking about this one place, one land, one people that are doing that on the face of the earth. And when you read all the biblical prophecies of what will be happening to that one land, what land this could be, you're looking at it in America. You see, America is Babylon the Great, because all the prophecies that's to befall Babylon the Great is befalling America right now, just as the scripture says will be happening. So for those who say, "Oh, the Bible is this," well, listen, the scripture also says you're going to be doing that too. Okay. So Revelation 17:2 says, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Right. So these other nations have become like America. Okay. The corruption has spread all throughout. That's why they're all coming together to create this so-called New World Order. Previously, it wasn't going to work because you had infightings, you had disruptions, you had one nation say, "No, we have this belief," versus another nation saying, "No, we have that belief." So then there's a clash. How are you going to bring those two together? So over time, they had to infiltrate these countries, like Klaus Schwab said. We penetrate the cabinets, you know? And then they destroy you from within. They make the change from within. That's what's happening to America. America is no longer what it used to be. When you look at Trump and his cabinet, they're like, yo, what? They're all there for what? Their billionaire friends' interests and the interests of the Jays. Okay? Because when you look at all of them, they all have some form of ties to the Jays. All right? Again, Esau, Edom. So continuing, it says, verse 3, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." Okay, and that's going into what? The Roman Empire. America comes back, all right, to fulfill her second leg of the Roman Empire. Okay. So it says, "And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication." Right? So when she came back as NATO and the EU, that power that she has, it was what is what she used to influence the rest of the world. Okay? That having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication, you have their military influence, right, to have that power over the whole entire earth. You have their financial power and influence over the earth, stemming from London. Okay, and then you have their spiritual influence upon the earth with the Vatican in Vatican City. Okay, so DC, London, Vatican City, or London City, Salakias, London City, and then Vatican City, because those are two different things. London and London City are two different things. All right. So continuing, it says, upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Okay? So when they're pushing all these different things, this is what happens to it. Achieving more material wealth and upward social mobility, all that corruption. All right, to get to the top. America is fulfilling that prophecy. Okay? The corruption, the disgusting behavior, all the madness that they perform and allow. You got Israelites who act like Babylonians, and then claim to say, "Oh, we're in the truth." Man, stop playing. It says Adams defined it as that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone. Right? Doesn't that sound like a spirit of pushing peace and safety? right, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. It is not a dream of motor cars and high wages merely, but a dream of social order. Interesting. In which each man and each woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position, right? So that's all hype speech for people to accept the depression that they're in. This is good for you. We have to go through this. And after it all, we're going to be the greatest country. We're going to come back to our power again. Delusions. It says the tenets of the American dream originate from the Declaration of Independence, which states that all men are created equal. Well, or Edomite men at that time, because they didn't consider Jake as men or people. It says, and have an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The preamble of the Constitution states similarly that the Constitution's purpose is to, in part, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Right? It is said to be a set of ideals, including representative democracy, rights, liberty, and equality, in which freedom is interpreted as the opportunity for individual prosperity and success, as well as the chance for upward social mobility for each according to ability and achievement through hard work in a capitalist society with many challenges but few formal barriers. So does that sound like America today? Okay, so that American dream here, interesting. It says belief in the American dream is often inversely associated with rates of national delusionment or disillusionment. Some critics have said that the dominant culture in America focuses on materialism and consumerism, or puts blame on the individual for failing to achieve success. Others have said that the labor movement is significant for delivering on the American dream and building the middle class. Yet in 2024 only, check this out, 2024, that was last year, right? Only 10% of American workers were members of a labor union, down from 20% in 1983. The American dream has also been said to be tied to American exceptionalism and does not acknowledge the hardships many Americans have faced in regards to American slavery. Oh, uh-oh. Native American genocide. Oh. You see, so this all ties back into what you did to the nation of Israel. Okay? Let's see. No, yep. Let me see if something's gonna pop up here. Beautiful. There's a book of Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 33. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah," right, the northern and southern kingdom, okay, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans and the so-called Negroes, right, American slavery, Native American genocide, right, that's the northern and southern kingdom, right. It says what? "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast." Captives, slaves, slavery, right? They refused to let them go, right? So they refuse to let us know who we are, because that's the first sign of letting us go. What did the Lord tell Pharaoh? To let my people go so we could do sacrifice unto him. How are we going to do sacrifice if we don't know his name? How are we going to sacrifice to a God we don't know? So we had to come back to who we are. That's the first step. Okay? That's the first step. Hey, uh, uh, what's that? Micah 2 So like, let me know if it's back on. It seems like the Wi-Fi was acting up. All right, I think it should be good. All right, so yeah, saying man. All right, so they refuse to let us go, right? All right, so check this out. Let's go back to this, right? It says the American dream has also been said to be tied to American exceptionalism, which is a belief that the United States is either distinctive, unique, or exemplary compared to other nations. Proponents argue that the values, political system, and historical development of the U.S. are unique in human history, often with implications that both destined let's see, we stop. Destined and entitled to play a distinct and positive role on the world stage. All right, so with all this, you don't think this is going to be ever written in the scriptures? So let's go back. All right, so we know what American exceptionalism is and does not acknowledge the hardships many Americans have faced in regards to American slavery, right? The legal institution of human chattel slavery, comprising the enslavement of primarily of Africans and African Americans, they mean Israelites, was prevalent in the United States of America from its founding in 1776 until 65, Salakia, predominantly in the South. Slavery was established throughout European, okay, cool, right? Native American genocide, the genocide of indigenous peoples, colonial genocide, or settled genocide, which was when they slaughtered or went to war and slaughtered with diseases and all kinds of different stuff. That's the devil for you. All right, Gadites, the Reubenites, and so on and so forth. All right, mainly Gad and Reuben. All right, it says, the genocide of indigenous peoples, colonial genocide, or settler genocide is the elimination, right, the slaughtering, all right, of Native Americans up in Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts, right? It says of indigenous peoples as part of the process of colonialism. All right. So when they colonized this land, as part of their procedure, right, they had to eliminate. It says their legacies and other examples of discriminatory violence. All right. The children of Jerusalem suffered violence. All right. So let's go back to what Trump is saying. All right, and then we're going to click on the video. So it says here, the American dream, right? So he's saying, he's framing it as a cornerstone in the revival of the American dream. So we read about the American dream. It says the announcement, which has sparked widespread discussion across political and economic spheres, signals a bold shift in U.S. trade strategy to bolster domestic industry and reassert American economic dominance. According to Reuters, Trump emphasized the tariffs as a means to level the playing field for American workers and businesses. That's the labor, right? The labor force, so to speak. All right, those that actually make the economy run, right? So when he says these kind of things, you also have to remember this, that he's using verbiage that will be successful or applicable in the 1930s. It's almost like he's just following a playbook, right? And it just doesn't make sense during this time. Why? Because these companies, or most of these companies, are all shifting to AI and automation for a lot of these so-called American jobs and stuff. So when Trump is saying these things and telling people, oh, the tariffs is going to level the playing field for American workers and businesses, what are you talking about? How does that even make sense when all these businesses are saying, yo, listen, look, we are shifting to automation because workers don't want to work, right? We're being held liable with all these workers' comp because everybody's soft now. Everybody want to sue you and shit. You know what I'm saying? First, they're not working hard. They're demanding more shit. They're not doing shit. It's like this degenerate crap. They don't want to deal with that. So now everyone is shifting to that AI stuff, right? And people are losing jobs off of that. Straight up. So him saying these things doesn't even make sense. Again, like I said, it's applicable back in the 1930s when these companies actually needed people to work for them. strikes actually worked. They carry some form of power and significance because, yo, the corporations will have to cater to the workers, right? But now, no more. Get ready for the UBI. All right. This is for too long. We've let other countries take advantage of us. This is Trump speaking now. Trump declared as quoted by the outlet. It says, this is about bringing back jobs, pride, and the American dream. Jobs for who? For how? You know? Jobs for who? But it says, hey, the water, bro. The water. Just seeing your comment there. So it says here, we know this is a lie, but let's read. It says, the policy introduces tariffs on imported goods from nations that impose similar duties on U.S. exports, a move Trump described as both fair and necessary to protect American interests. How? Right? So this is all going to fall back on the American people. And as when I click the video, the man, he's going to expound on that. He's going to give you a whole lot of information. All right. It says the Wall Street Journal reported that the announcement builds on Trump's long-standing promise to prioritize American manufacturing, which is all going automated anyway. It's all going shifting into the AI stuff anyway. So they don't need American people. So what's going to happen? You're going to have people getting poor. Right now, they saying, what was it? I think it was like 60 million, something like that. Americans are behind in their mortgage payments, right? I said, damn, look, this is it's over, man. This thing is done. Okay, this thing is done, and look, people are all on some like on their edge. They said spending, fast food, people going out to eat, the spending has gone down, right? You notice people are stopped shopping more, right? Or they're shopping less, you know. And they always say, oh, it's because people are shopping online. No, 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 no. Stores are closing down left and right. All right. You could tell that the spirit of America is getting darker and darker and darker. They could feel it. They know what's going on, you know, but they're being deceived, and it's that hope, that hope that hope is like it's like, oh, I know this is bad, but I'm hoping that what this guy is saying is true just to make me feel better. Nah, he's just lulling you more and more into sleep. We're that much closer to the MOTB, man. They're setting the people up. This is beautiful. All right. This is what we've been waiting for. This is all going to lead to civil unrest like never before, man. All right, because people are going to be like, once they catch on to it, they're saying that the 401k got wiped out as soon as the tariffs went in. I forget exactly how many people or what the amount was, but they said millions of Americans 401k got wiped out just like that. I said, oh. You see, this is all happening, and then once but they're keeping it hush hush. Once everything opens up, the Lord says, okay, it's go time. Oh, it says the Wall Street Journal reported that. As a matter of fact, let's get that. Let's get that. Let's get that real quick. All right, let's get that. All right, once the people get fed up and they find out what's really going on, this is what's going to happen. All right, this is the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits, right? Because they're building right now to the fullness of their sufficiency, which is that ultimate AI takeover, right? But people are going to reject that because they're going to be like, yo, we're not trying to deal with robots all day, every day. This shit is crazy. I don't have a job. This is going on. The AI is charging me this when I didn't really do this. It's like you're taking over my life. And, they're boxing people in. And they'll take more and more and more from you with these new mandates, these new laws. There's going to be new legislation left and right. All these executive orders, when they start kicking in, right? Because an executive order is a mandate. All right, it's a rule. It's a mandate. So once they start kicking in time of an emergency, it's over with. All at once? Yeah. Right? It says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon them, upon him. Right? We're going to that word wicked. Do it real quick. right? It says here, hand. It's like I wanted the word wicked. Let's go back. There you go. Right. The Hebrew word there is aimal. Okay, aimal, and it says what? Laborer, sufferer, wretched one. Laborer, workman, sufferer. Right. Labor. Right. So you go to that word labor. Let's see what we find. Right. It says labor, the noun. It says a task, a project. Right. Exertion of the body, trouble, okay, difficulty, hardship, okay. It says toil, work, exertion. That's what they call the middle class, so to speak, right? Task, tribulation, suffering, right? Those who have to actually, they have a job. That's the middle class. That's the working class. They literally work. Man, Satan is. All right, so like, yeah. All right, so going back to what I was saying, right? So everyone pretty much works. So you, 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 you exchange your time for money, right? And by exchanging your time, that time that you're exchanging is building up your own prison, is building up the system more and more, right? Because you have construction workers, and you have those who work in the office, and you have those who work, in the sports field, and everyone has a different role to play. As everyone is moving, it's literally like a rat race. Everyone is moving, people driving, traffic everywhere, you know. You got different companies, trucks, cars, SUVs, sedans. It's like mad shit going on. See, especially here in New York. Hey, traffic. hmm everyone, certain times of the day, it's called rush hour. You know how annoying that is? Rush hour traffic? Man, you know? But all these things, that's all part of the working class to make America go. They're literally like the chain, the engine. Every day it's moving, it's moving. America, in New York, this is the city that never sleeps. You know? No, that's the wicked ass city. Gomorrah. All right, Sodom and Gomorrah right there. Right? It says what? Tribulation, suffering. Right? Toil, exertion, hardship, pain, fatigue. A work, a product of labor. All right? It says body of labor, blah, blah, blah. Let's go down here. It says perform manual or physical work hard, keep busy, take pains, strive, endeavor. Uh, to work, to take pains, to toil, to work. Looking for this one specific one. Ah, right here. Endure pain, suffer. Okay, meaning be burdened. Right, it says here, travail. Travail. Right? There's one word. Travail. Let's go to it real quick. Alright, it's the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Who's that talking about? It's talking about the whole entire system. Because it's a systematic overhaul. They keep talking about the word, they use the word global. Okay? So this is the whole part of, he calls it all. This is all part of it. You see? This is all part of it. They send the stage, man. You know? These tariffs, this is one of the biggest stages being set. It says others warned of possible retaliation from trading partners, which could drive up costs for consumers and disrupt global supply chains. Ah, when do we hear this word? Klaus Schwab has used that word. Supply chains, right? Back when so-called Biden, what happened to Biden, by the way? Anyone know what happened to that old man? Did he die or something? Like, they didn't tell us. Like, And we know he was on his way out, but what happened to him? That robot. You know, I have this conspiracy theory that Joe Biden, the real Joe Biden, died back in 2019, and he got buried in I think Arlington something cemetery, military, something like that, if I can remember correctly. And that the guy who was in the so-called presidency was some robot just to test to see if Americans were really up for game, and they missed it completely. They helped destroy the country even more to set up the stage for Trump to come in. Okay, and now look what's going on, right? So he's disrupting the group. This says what is going to what, which will drive up costs for consumers. That's the average American people, the consumers, mostly Americans. All right, the Egyptians, and disrupt global supply chains. Global supply chains. It's a gamble. Listen to this. One analyst noted, but it's one Trump seems willing to take. It's a gamble. So it's not even of certainty. Like, this is not guaranteed. We're going to go through this, but it's not guaranteed that we're actually going to get you guys out of it. And that's why some of his people, if you've been listening, they come out and they say, oh, American people are complaining that Trump said when he comes in, inflation is going to go down. Oh, I love seeing this happen. You know, oh, the inflation is going to go down, da da da. But he's been in president and we haven't seen anything. If anything, it's been going up. So what's up? And they come out and say, listen, you people need to stop complaining. Oh, this is so beautiful to watch. You know, hey, the Lord is mocking you people now. The people you trusted in, now look what's happening. Hmm? Let's get this real quick, right? Let's see. Here's the book of Isaiah, chapter 31, and verse 1. It says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh. Right? So ultimately he's talking about the Israelites, right? That they believe more in this system to make them, to put them in that heavenly state rather than actually trusting Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But that's the American culture though. You know, like we read earlier about the materialism, you know, and the amassing of wealth, materialistic goods, right? Going up in rank in society, by any means necessary, that kind of spirit, you know, and that's what yields that wickedness. People will do anything for money, for fame, right? Because there are many, they'll give you money, they'll give you all this. Like, people really get excited about that stupid stuff. And then horsemen, because they are very strong, but they are, it says, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel. People don't, you know, look for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. looks like we might be coming back. It's like you're having some technical difficulties here. Yeah, Satan is at work. Weird things happening. But anyway, so let's go back. I forgot where I was even at, but that's okay. Let's bring this all back. All right. So let's go back to the article and go from there. There you go. All right. So it says here, uh, CNN highlighted the political undertones of the event, noting that Trump tied the tariff policy directly to his vision of national renewal. All right. This sounds very much like peace and safety. Okay. It says the American dream isn't just about wealth, it's about opportunity, security, and knowing your country has your back, he said, per CNN's coverage. This place is finished. All right, it says the network pointed out that the announcement comes at a time when Trump is seeking to solidify his base ahead of future political battles, positioning himself as a champion of the working class. Yo, but people are not even thinking like that though. A lot of people are actually like in real life, real time, pissed off. They could see that something is seriously wrong, and they can feel it because the system is actually slowing down on all fronts. Yo, car dealerships are not selling their cars, all right, in time. You got a lot of car dealerships that got cars sitting on the lots. Some of them 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You know, so it's like it's bad. You know, and then you have this whole inflation thing going on, which again, this tariff stuff is going to just put everything down the drain. At this point, it's over. You know, it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, though. Are going to react. Yeah, I'm gonna run this quick and wrap it up because this is crazy. It says comes at a time um, when Trump is seeking to solidify his base. Blah 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 blah. All right. Let's see here. Right here. Critics, however, told the Times that the move risks reigniting trade wars, reminiscing of Trump's first term, potentially alienating allies and complicating traditional international relationships or relations. Okay, that's also going to affect the EU nations. This is all part of how the beast shall hate the whore. Okay, posts found on X reflect a polarized public response. Supporters praised Trump's focus on American jobs, with one user writing, "Finally, a president who puts us first. How? By signing executive orders?" These people are funny. It says skeptics, meanwhile, questioned the long-term impact, with another commenting, "Tariffs sound good until you're paying double for your groceries." hmm While these sentiments capture current online chatter, they remain anecdotal and inconclusive without broader data. Bro, you don't need no broader data, bro. This is it. The people are telling you what's going on. This is the temperature of this is the climate. This is the condition, all right, of the American people. Hence, Babylon the Great. All right. It says Bloomberg added an economic angle, noting that the stock market showed mixed reactions on the day of the announcement. It says shares in domestic manufacturing firms ticketed upward, while companies reliant on imported materials saw declines. All right, and a lot of things that Americans consume are imported. All right, even looking at just Canada and Mexico alone, like what the hell did they do to be getting hit with tariffs like that? Don't you know that it's gonna affect the American people directly? But it's all being done by design. All right, it says investors are hedging their bets. Bloomberg reported, underscoring the uncertainty surrounding the policy's rollout. Uh oh, uncertainty, right? Uncertainty. Let's get that in. There's the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 3. This is what you're seeing right now. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, right? And those that look out of the windows be darkened, right? So we've been seeing, right, prior to even 2020, we've been seeing all these major stores, retail stores closing down. And this year alone, hey, mass stores, you know, mass stores. Like they said Macy's on 34th Street in New York City was closing down. I said, oh, wow. You know, that Macy's parade that they used to do, I think it was like Christmas or some shit. It should be so annoying. You know, all that stuff is over with. All right, the Lord is taking out the mirth out of the land. All right, all the stupid little celebrations and all the stupid Christmas spirit is all dying down. And I remember it started during Trump's first term. That year, was it 2016? Man, that year, man, I said, yo, why is, seems like nobody's really in that Christmas spirit like that. You know, remember it used to be like Christmas spirit used to be like, it started like right after Thanksgiving is over. You start getting to December, you start feeling that like people start putting everything out, Christmas trees, you know. It's like, damn, these people, man. The whole vibe changes. Everything is all winter, but we gotta keep you warm and cuddly little shit. Annoying, man. Goodness, right? And all these holiday deals and all this shit. Everyone thinking about going shopping. Oh my God, bro. Paganism, stupidity, foolishness. Hey, Dwadi Abashmi Ashar, that we have this truth because, man, we look back at it and I'm like, damn, I used to do shit like this. Ah, it bothers me. It really does. You know, it really, really bothers me. You know, but hey, we're here today, right? But you're seeing all those traditions are dying. That's the point. Okay? So this right here, right, is going to do more. It says what? Bloomberg reported, underscoring the uncertainty, all right, surrounding the policy's rollout. Okay? They're trembling. It says in his remarks, Trump also took a nostalgic tone, invoking the prosperity of the mid 20th century America, right? So right after the Great Depression, then you come into the boom. Was it those the 1960s, 70s, around the 50s, 60s, 70s, around there, you know, like the so-called golden age of America. You know, there's a history. I forget the name. I think it was like it says Roots of Corruption or something like that. I need to find that book. And you know, it goes into like the debauchery. I think it was in the 1960s into the 70s. Like debauchery of American culture. Like they started becoming very immoral. You know, the spirit of America started to change. It was like the real image of Babylon, like that spirit of Babylon started to come out because she knew that it was over with. You know, started mad crazy stuff. The culture changed. You know, women's liberation movement and all these different things start to really blow up during them times, the 50s and so on and so forth. Right. So it says in his remarks, Trump also we get that it says we're going back to a time when our workers thrived, which is a lie. Our factories hummed, which is another lie, and our families could build a life on a single income. Super lie. Because you have people who are working two, three jobs just to support themselves. You know, it's crazy. I know people personally who have to. We all know people personally that got to do. They got to work two jobs. Anyway, hey, the wife for bearing with me. It says the network emphasized Trump's appeal to blue-collar voters, a demographic that has long been central to his political coalition. All right, so, you know, lying about all these different things, hey, people are about to finally realize that, yo, this guy was set up to really bring down this place even more. All right, Warp Speed 2.0. All right, straight into the MOTB system, man. All right, this whole thing really begun during his first reign, and it's gonna end with his second reign, Lord willing. All right, but there's a video here that I wanted you to check out. I wanted to share. And
this is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
Hold on. Jeez, lady. Anyway, so this is a channel, right? I believe it's Democracy Now!. Okay, very informative channel. Put some good stuff out there. It says American empire is in decline. Okay, so when you start seeing titles like this from people who are not per se in the truth community, they're just speaking from an objective point of view, right? People like this, maybe 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, in any society or century, will go back to these kinds of information and read it and say, oh, look what happened to All right, so going back to what I was saying, man, let's just get into this. This thing's getting me tight.
The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Global stock markets are tumbling after President Trump unveiled the biggest hike in global tariffs in modern U.S. history, including a 10% blanket tariff on all imported goods from about 8.
Okay. All right, this is my last attempt. If it goes out again, I'm just gonna post the video and the link. I'll put a link in the description so you could just watch the video. But the point is made, right? I just want to bring out, this article here and basically just, sound the alarm that, hey, this tariff stuff is going to really have that same. So, like, I believe it's going to be worse than the effects of so-called CV-19 during that time. With the lockdowns and how businesses shut down and everything like that. This is going to have that kind of effect. It's going to happen over time. Okay, but it's going to be quick. All right, it's going to be quick, but it's going to happen over time. You're going to start seeing a lot more businesses closing down. A lot more mom and pop shops going to be just out of business at that point. A lot of people can't, keep up with the rent and all these different things, and business is going to slow down. People are not going to be spending much, so everything is going to just start slowing down. In all facets, the grinding shall cease. Okay, all because of these tariffs, man. The effects will be detrimental. All right.
Union, China and Japan will see even higher tariffs. China now faces a total 54% tariff. Trump announced the plan during a speech in the Rose Garden at the White House.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. Gonna make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steelworkers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream.
The impact of Trump's tariffs are expected to be felt around the world. While Trump claims the tariffs will boost the U.S. economy, many economists fear it could lead to a recession or worse. Trump's trade war could also shift global alliances as countries seek new trading partners. China, Japan, South Korea have already announced plans to increase trading ties and coordinate their response to Trump's tariffs. We begin today's show with Richard Wolff, professor of economics emeritus, University of Massachusetts Amherst, visiting professor in the graduate program in international affairs at the New School. He's the founder of Democracy at Work and hosts a weekly national TV radio program called Economic Update, the author of a number of books, including most recently Understanding Capitalism and The Sickness is the System, when capitalism fails to save us from pandemics or itself. Professor Wolff, it's great to have you with us again. Well, start off by responding to, and were you surprised, shocked, or do you...
Now let's listen to. All right, Shalom. We're back. This is my last attempt. Lord willing, we can get through it. But like I said, I will post the video link in the description. So Lord willing, you could just watch the whole thing. All right. So let's just listen a little bit.
Were you surprised, shocked, or do you guess that, well, about 185 countries we're going to see increased or tariffs?
On the one hand, we knew something like this was coming. On the other hand, the sweep and the scope of it does make you stop. Mr. Trump is right. It is a changing moment in American history and world history. But I think his representation of what's going on is completely fantastical and has only to do with the self-promotion that he is engaged in most of the time. It was never foreigners who did it to us. This notion of the United States as a victim, we have been one of the greatest beneficiaries in the last 50 years of economic wealth, particularly for people at the top just like him. It has nothing to do with foreigners taking advantage of us, this attempt to make himself strong and powerful relative to others, to blame the foreigner. These are cheap shots that a real president wouldn't do. And there's the most important point. The American economy is in trouble. The American empire is in decline. We don't want to discuss it in this country. We engage in denial.
You hear that? What a beautiful thing. You hear that? Do you hear that? Beautiful things.
And instead, we are striking out at other people, a sad way of handling a decline. The British Empire declined before us, so did all the others. We are now at that point. We had a great 20th century. 21st century is different. You have to face those problems. That's not being done. What's being done is to say we have difficulties, but they're all somebody else's fault, and we're going to solve it by punishing them. I would like to point out, as you suggest quite rightly, Amy, that the rest of the world is not going to sit by. The United States does not have the power it had in the 20th century.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 9. It says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies." And that's her destruction. Okay? That's when she gets hit with thermonuclear destruction. Right? It says, Jeremiah 51 and 8, it says, "Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed." Right? But she will not be healed. Okay? We would have healed Babylon, but she will not be healed. Alright, so what he's saying is is exactly prophecy playing out in real time. Okay, let's listen to this again.
By punishing them. I would like to point out, as you suggest quite rightly, Amy, that the rest of the world is not going to sit by. The United States does not have the power it had in the 20th century. It is not in the position it seems to imagine itself.
This one right here. She's no longer, and she's sitting on the top. She's no longer that, right? There's a book of Isaiah chapter 47 verse 1. It says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Okay? "Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks. Make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered." Right? And these men like this, he's exposing. We call it being exposed. America is being, her nakedness is being uncovered. She's being exposed for who she really is. "Yea, thy shame shall be seen. Thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." Right? "As for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel." Okay? "Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms." Okay? So, there you have it.
It is not in the position it seems to imagine itself. When the Secretary of the Treasury added to Mr. Trump's comments that he warned the rest of the world not to retaliate, that would imply that if they do, there would be escalation. Yes, he said, there will be escalation. Well, nothing will guarantee more escalation than if they do nothing, because then it's an invitation to Mr. Trump to keep doing it as each of these efforts doesn't work.
Given how dramatic this was yesterday, is it possible he was deciding this to the very last second as they put this off? And explain exactly. You're a professor, you're a teacher. Most people don't even realize how tariffs work.
Okay. A tariff is a tax. It's just a particular tax that got that name. It used to be called import duty. All it means is when something comes into the United States that was produced outside and is brought in to be sold, it has to pay a tax, as literally as it crosses our border into our country. It is paid by the American company that brings it in, which may pass it on to the consumer, usually.
There you go. They pass it on to the consumer. You know? So there you go, man. And it kicked in, what, April 2nd, I think? Or April 3rd, something like that. Right? So we're going to see the after effects of these changes. You know, that's going to also happen through Doge, right? Can't forget that. You know? And we're going to see how this all thing plays out, man. It's beautiful times. Beautiful. All right, so let's keep going.
What happens? And the tax goes to Uncle Sam. It goes to Washington. Mr. Trump loved to suggest that tariffs were paid by the others. A little bit like Mexico would pay for the wall. Never happened. It's not going to happen here either. It's an American tax. And there's something remarkable that clues you into how big a change this is, that the Republican Party, which has branded itself as the anti-tax party for a century, is now imposing the most massive tax imaginable. Why this big change?
Massive tax imaginable. Massive tax imaginable. Let's get that. All right, this is the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 1. It says, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, right? So this, all these things is going to lead to that civil war, civil unrest, that race riots, the fighting is going to become physical, right? And they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians, and you see that spirit is heavy here, because now you got openly these people are out here talking about satanic clubs and satanic after school programs for children. It's like, damn, like y'all not even hiding it no more. You know, coming openly against the scriptures, the Bible, the so-called Christians, right? That's Esau for you, man. You know, it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Right? So that cruel Lord, that fierce king, all right, you're looking at Trump. We believe that to be Trump. And guess what? That cruelty is all through this right here. The after effects of these things. And that's what this man is explaining here. All right, so let's keep going.
Because we have big, big problems, and this kind of slopping the rest of the world is an attempt to solve a little bit of them, but it is not going to work because we don't have the power to do it anymore.
I want to go to UAW President Sean Fain, who supports Trump's new tariffs, saying last week, we applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that's devastated working class communities for decades. Fain spoke Sunday on CBS's Face the Nation.
We've seen over 90,000 manufacturing facilities leave the United States. We've seen, in the Big Three alone in the last 20 plus years, 65 plants have closed. You know, and so, look, tariffs aren't the total solution. Tariffs are a tool in the toolbox to get these companies to do the right thing, and the intent behind it is to bring jobs back here and you know, invest in the American workers. If they're going to bring jobs back here, you know, they need to be life-sustaining jobs where people can make a good wage, a living wage, have adequate health care, and have a retirement security, and not have to work 7 days a week or multiple jobs just to scrape to get by paycheck to paycheck.
Well, while UAW President Sean Fain praised Trump's tariffs, he also said he had great concerns about President Trump's move to eliminate contracts for 700,000 federal workers, the firing of workers at the National Institute of Health, and other agencies.
I was a bit disappointed. I like Sean Fain, many of us do, but this was disappointing. To say, basically, I will support the president because he does something that might help my union, even though Sean Fain knows, as most economists do, that if you put a tax on the goods coming in, they will go up in price because we have to pay that tax now. And that will lead to domestic producers able to raise their prices because their competitors from abroad are stuck with this tax. So we expect a boost to inflation, which is going to hurt the working class of this country in a very serious way, especially if it builds on itself, which often happens when you do tariffs like this. And I want to remind everyone, including Sean Fain, that the auto workers also represent workers in places that need export markets, that produce in America and sell abroad. When those countries retaliate, as they likely will, we will lose export markets, and that will mean fewer jobs. And
There you go. That will mean fewer jobs, right?
no one, let me stress, no one now knows whether the jobs lost from this trade war will be greater or smaller than any jobs that are gained. It is a big risk being taken by Mr. Trump, and if it doesn't go well, it'll be very bad for the American economy. It will produce the recession folks are worried about because of the price.
You hear that? He's saying it.
Prices go up, people buy less, and that loses jobs. When you look at all of this, this is an incredibly risky effort to blame the world, punish the world, and then cross his fingers, which is what he's doing, hoping it comes out all right. Reminds me of the football metaphor. This is a Hail Mary pass. You throw it down the field, you hope it bounces into your team's hands, but that's all it is, a long shot, and it's a sign of how troubled the American economy now is.
Oh, there you go. That's all I needed. Again, I'll put that in the description. Okay? So all this stuff here, okay, is all a facade. Okay? It's all a facade to bring our American dream. That's all a facade. This place is finished. Okay? And we're entering into the times of the labor pains. Okay? In the book of 1 Thessalonians, we're going to end it off with that. All right, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3 says, for when they shall say peace and safety, all right, promising people with the American dream, Okay? Sweeping tariffs claiming the American dream is back. Like, what kind of claim is that? All right? What kind of claim is that? It says what? For when they shall say peace and safety, American dream, right? Because that all is encompassing that. The American dream is all about peace and safety. Okay? Then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape, right? So that is it's something that happens, and then you go through the labor pains. Okay? It says, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief, right? Because we're always constantly watching. Okay, we're always constantly watching. But these people who are not watching is going to overtake them, all right, as a thief in the night. Okay, it's going to happen suddenly because they're caught up in the system. You know, you guys, especially a lot of these Israelite groups. Apostle Hart always says it all the time. The apostles always bring it up, saying that, yo, when the MOTB is mandated, it's going to shake up all of Israel. And that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? That's a fact. Yo, people are going to be bugged out. Because they're not built up in the faith. They've been sitting around playing games. They're not really built up in the faith, man. They're doing Israelite political correctness. A whole lot of madness. They do fashion shows. They do rap concerts. And it's just everything but building your faith for the times that's ahead. You know, because their leader tells them that there will be no Jacob's trouble. The other group, they said Jacob's trouble is gay. Yo, niggas, man. Oh, Jake. You know? But it says what? They shall not escape. So when the judgment starts raining, we're going to see. That's why the Lord says what? Then shall they be known who are my chosen. All right? But yeah, man. Just wanted to bring this out real quick. You know, Salakia for the technical difficulties, I'll say. All right? Satan was definitely doing his thing. But, you know, through the Spirit, we're able to finish it. But again, like I said, I'll put this video in the description, in the comment section. And, you know, you can check it out. All right. So, the water for joining me. Well, in closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruchak, Kodash. The water, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and Lord willing, I hope this was edifying to you, brothers and sisters. The water, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, the water, Amen. Shalom, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Brakatam, Shalom.